welcome to the show. You look incredible, like a dessert that owns a yacht.
That's exactly the vibe I was going for. You know, sweet but slightly out of your tax bracket.
Mission accomplished. How does one even shop for a suit when your head is...
Gold on my neck, gold on my hand, purple with the stripes, that's the walk of a man. Sidewalk shining, city lights humming, every step I take, they know a boss is coming.
Is that a poppy seed? You realize I'm your P.O., right? Straight to booking!
Police or zombie problems? Your tortoise won't stop breakdancing?
Try blue tape.
The miracle of our age. Yay!
Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUy. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me, or I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me, or I'm a man.
You know what? I talk to your mayor.
Yeah, it's TUG, that umbrella guy. You picked the wrong storm. 2 times on the docket, used to lane learn. You kept running to the court, I just let it burn. You was barking on the phone, all that tough talk threatened. Now you looking at the floor like judge, I'm just stressing. You swing wild, I parry that, turn it to a meme. You gamble with your rep, I'm cashing out on the stream. You said you'd end me, now you trim me. You a car crash clip, I rewind it in 4K HD. You hate the channel cause the truth don't bend. You ain't a rival, you a cautionary tale I pen. You said you wrecked me, but I wrecked you worse. You tried to cancel, now you stuck replaying this verse. 2 times ain't enough for you. Keep suing cause you're scared of truth. That umbrella guy gon' shine right through. You call it war, I call it views. She crazy, 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 yeah, that's old news. Crazy, crazy, yeah, that's old news. 2 times ain't enough for you, yeah. You was yelling at the screen, veins popping in your neck, talking big, talking bold, but your story don't connect. You a late night rant, I'm a documented fact. You a tantrum in a tweet, I'm receipts in the stack. You said I'll ruin you, I said bet cool. Now the judge looking sideways, who really the fool? You keep threatening in the dark, I just flipped the switch. You a star of your own breakdown, welcome to the glitch. Mic drop, every time that I quote your lies. You keep spinning, I keep winning, watch the view count rise. You call me villain, but I'm still chilling. You the one scribbling in threads like that's some kind of living. 2 times ain't enough for you. Keep suing cause you scared of truth. That umbrella guy gon' shine right through. You call it war, I call it views. She crazy, 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 yeah, that's old news. Crazy, 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 yeah, that's old news. 2 times ain't enough for you. 2 times ain't enough for you. 2 times ain't enough for you. times ain't enough. 2 times ain't enough.
Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Oh, what's up, folks? How you doing today? How's it going, man? Ah, the crazy. I liked that song. I thought that was kind of fun there. You know, I really thought I was lazy in making the imagery. I I allowed the AI to make the images, as you will notice with some of the mask images. It's like, yeah, that's a weird swirly, but whatever. It still worked out pretty well. I thought it was a good song. It took me a week and a half to get it right. It just didn't sound right to me for almost a week, you know. So how you folks doing on this wonderful Saturday? I swear, man, there is always some crazy going on. We have some wonderful documents today to go over. You're gonna have fun with those too, man. Let me check that sounds low. You know what's funny is I got used to, with the old computer, having to check my my volume every time I spoke. It would automatically adjust down. And I was like, I've not gotten out of the habit. So that's why I was like, let me check that real quick because I forgot to. And it was just the same. It was beautiful. So we have some wonderful documents. Now, the wonderful documents here that we're going to look at today are essentially, they are Preston begging the court to say, don't let them do anything else, please. No more in the sanctions, no more anything else. And what's interesting about it is they, at the end of the document, there is a manual list notice of people who should require service, you know, because, well, they're creditors. And I noticed the name was missing from that still. One big hefty freaking name was missing from that list. Strange, very strange. You know, they put them into everything, and yet at the same time, they're not on that. So they let them go in, and yet they still haven't done anything to really correct the fact that they were in hearings and more. That's interesting. I also saw something fun today too. I saw the fact that that Chubbs thinks that Jeremy Hale's, some of his comments to Libs in emails, man, that's going to win her a case. But she doesn't think that putting freaking mushroom avatars and stuff on things was a stupid idea for her. That was a really kind of shocking one too. I also saw a well, let me pull up one other thing I want to show you because it was very bizarre. And maybe I need a translation for it. Let me see. 1 second. There's so much, you know. Every now and then I go in and I check the verses and stuff that a certain Preston pushes out. You know, it's funny because Preston, I'm sure, thinks that she's been clever and removed herself from any liability and all this insanity, and yet the people that are doing all this stuff, she recruited. So here's one. Why don't you translate? You know, usually we get a Bible verse, right? And then I get if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will go its whole life feeling like it's stupid. So somebody thought, you know what? I'm a genius in posting this. What? Oh my God. That's just proof that anybody will post anything. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will. No, if you think fish climb trees, you're pretty stupid. I think we all agree that if you're like, oh, look at that stupid fish, it can't climb trees, then everybody would be laughing at you. They wouldn't be laughing at the fish. I'm just going to say. Oh my God, that's pretty funny. Uh, Michelle, that is pretty funny. Oh my God. I love it. I look over there every now and then because, you know, you get all the like, oh, I hope I can win me a free Rolex and, you know, Bible verses. That's usually what we get. But then every now and then we get a weird one. That I'm like, what does that mean exactly? Now, the thing we're going to look at today, this is, well, here, let me pull this up. Let me make sure everything's redacted off the top. One thing I hate with bankruptcy documentation, actually, let me redact one other thing off this. It has the last 4 of social, which doesn't really matter because the case is tied to that and it's a document out there, but I'm going to redact it anyway. Just give me a second. There was so many addresses on this freaking document, man. Ugh. The girls today, by the way. So while I'm redacting this, I'll tell you, they have gone skating tonight. The oldest, it's funny because the oldest, she's like, I want to go skate. You know, they're kids out there. I want to go see what's there. And I want to dress like it's the 80s. It's like the 80s. You're going to bouffant your hair up. What are you going to do? What does that mean exactly? So she got dressed up and went out. You know, she wanted to go. And I texted her. I was like, how's she doing there? You know, she hasn't been before. And I got pictures of her, you know, holding onto the wall for dear life. Which I don't blame her, you know. That's my if you take me skating, that's what I do. I cling to that wall like I'm attached to it. You know, me and 4 tiny rollers on each of my feet, we don't get along. And the little one's too busy being like, hey, can I get some pizza? Hey, can I get a Coke? Hey, do they have candy? The little one's an eating machine. She's just always like, hook me up with some caffeine. Hey, is there any sugar here? Oh my Lord. They're so funny though. Yeah, they'll get used to it. I know they will. I was shocked. You know, I was shocked by this. So to go over there and get shoes, you got an adult that goes in with them, all right, and 2 kids. It cost $20. No skates for the adult. So 2 skate rentals with 3 people walking in the door, $20. It was like, good Lord. We haven't even gotten, you know, might as well taking them to the damn movies for that. You know, by the time they eat it, I'll even out. So it's crazy. Oh, I used to we have a cosmic bowling here too. And I'm very terrible at it. All right, I got this redacted. So check this out. This is where we're going to be responding to. You remember the order for sanctions? I'm sure you remember this. Now, this is again I'll show you the document itself first. But I'm going to read it after I show you what it's about because I want you to understand when you run across it, this is not an old document here. Okay. So this is a document to the bankruptcy court saying we deserve damages because a court gave people that we sued falsely sanctions. Imagine the twisted mindset that thought this is a smart move. Okay. I mean, really think about this. Because what this is in response to here is it's in response to the wonderful, wonderful stuff attached to, here we go, the thumbnail case. Check this out. So we have our thumbnail case items. You know, we had our memorandum of law. You remember this is the breakdown talking about how exactly sanctions may proceed during an automatic bankruptcy stay. That's what this is discussing. Can you proceed with a hearing? Remember, there were no sanctions that were actually rewarded during this, but this talks about, can you go forward under law? Can you actually do this? And then you had an order from the court. Now, we'll review the order from the court just a little bit You know, we don't have to review it heavily, but we will review some of it because it's going to talk about this. So this was the order from the court. And I'm telling you, the desperation to this stuff, it's amazing to me, considering the person that, again, they're begging another court to be like, sanction them, you know, because a judge said, yeah, this may move forward and we may do that. You talk about some desperate bullshit. It's more telling what they file than they really, I think, want to. But this was the finding of fact, you know, and remember during this, as it said, you're talking about the thumbnail gang, except DJ Radis was never served during the complaint. They never managed to serve him, so he doesn't even really count as far as anything on this. But everyone else, they do. You know, DJ Radis was Where's Waldo as far as that. Remember, they complained about that a lot. And at the same time, they have decided to brag about how they can't be served with anything. Isn't that strange, you know? But when it went through it, again, it talked about with the finding of fact. I do want to read a little bit of this. We can read it fast, though. You know, on the 16th, 2024, plaintiff filed a complaint for injunction and damages under Florida Statute 540.08. That's, again, the plaintiff being Michelle Preston. So they're going to whine about getting in trouble on something Michelle Preston herself did it because they can't ever take responsibility for what the fuck they do. That is the theme from the ecosystem. Is the theme always through the ecosystem. On the 27th of August, 2024, defendants served a 21-day safe harbor letter and an unfiled motion for sanctions pursuant to Section 57.105 Florida statute under plaintiff counsel. Now, the motion asserted that plaintiff's counsel, asserted no basis in law or fact to proceed under Section 540.08. Plaintiff did not respond to the defendant's motion for sanction, nor did she withdraw a complaint within 21 days. That was something, remember, I love bringing this up too. One reason I always like looking at this part is because, remember, we were told by the ecosystem that didn't matter. That didn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, remember, they insulted Randy again and again, and they insulted DUI guy. They insulted Megan Fox, whomever, about this one lovely item. and yet, they were terribly wrong, right? So the defendants, they file a motion for sanctions September the 18th, 2024. Plaintiff further failed to respond to all discovery requests for all evidence in support of plaintiff's complaint, as well as a subsequent motion to compel discovery. Remember, they wanted to play this game. They wanted to pretend like they didn't have to respond to anything. Does that remind you of any other cases, by the way? And again, this gets them in trouble and it should. When they play discovery games and they're like, yo, I ain't coming off anything at all, they end up with a real problem. Like a real problem at the end of it all. Oh, what idiots, man. Now, after the 21-day safe harbor period had run, and subsequently on the eve of the hearing scheduled on defendant's motion for summary judgment, plaintiff voluntarily dismissed the complaint. Remember, they were like, it's over. We're not going to do anything with it. We'll never get in trouble. Plaintiff was properly noticed for the hearing set for December 17th, 2025, but they didn't pop up. Well, that's weird. The only people popping up for the hearings on the case that they brought were the people that she was going after. Isn't that strange? This should be a lesson to all those idiots out there, too, in the ecosystem. I realize that some of them are beyond desperate to try to get their names or trying to grab money. They think Hales and the rest of us are going to be a money grab. I swear to God, like I said, with all the stuff they've done, I will make sure that I will be collecting something for the rest of their life. Even if they have to shave their heads and their pets and give me their hair, I will collect something. Remember that. Mark my words. I will be so petty. I will watch your press-on nails and your fucking hair extensions. I'm that petty. So, the defendant's counsel indicated he received an email from plaintiff the day before the hearing, and she did not intend to appear. On the prior occasion involved a hearing that was properly set and noticed. Plaintiff informed the court on the evening of the hearing that she did not intend to appear. Now, the court processed with the hearing on December 17th, 2025, as plaintiff provided neither good cause nor any reason whatsoever for her absence. You know, she just skipped out. Again, this is why this goes against her. And the reason I'm noting this is because we're going to have a big wine spree afterwards that just happened saying, oh, it's unfair for me to be sanctioned. Again, this was her case, and they're mad because you can do certain things in the bankruptcy. It's just we didn't have the sanctions itself drop on her. Now, because of the automatic stay resulting from plaintiff's bankruptcy filing, now this is important stuff, during the proceedings and after the review of defendant's motion of law regarding the court's authority to proceed on the issues of sanctions, notwithstanding the stay in bankruptcy, as well as the court's independent research. See, the court didn't just take somebody's word for it. The court did their own research. That's something you have to take in. Remember that as we look at the document. The court proceeded with sanctions hearing on the issue of entitlement only. Now, this is important. The court, doing its own research, was like, yeah, we can proceed on entitlement. At the hearing, the court admitted into evidence the documents pertaining to defendant's sanction motion, took judicial notice of the case law provided by defendants, and heard the testimony of defendant's attorney, Randy Shockett, Esquire. The court finds that defendants have clear entitlements to attorney fees pursuant to Florida statute 57.105, 1A and 1B. And as plaintiff and then counsel Scott Stark knew or should have known there was no legal or factual basis for plaintiff's complaint based on existing law applied to the facts in plaintiff's complaint. You catch that, right? Now, this will be a beautiful decision, too, that will also be thrown right in there in Fed 1. This is something we have not mentioned. Remember, there were items where, again, they kept talking about how they want this or they want that. They're going to countersue for this or that. Well, isn't this interesting? This shit got shot the hell down, you know? So, The languages section 57.105 FS is mandatory when it comes to awarding attorney fees as a sanction for the filing of frivolous and baseless action. Again, this is frivolous and it's baseless, even though the ecosystem keeps telling you it's not. Just remember that. That's why you ended up with it. And again, this is all Michelle Preston's fault. Ultimately, she's culpable for it. So, of course, she's going to be like, Judge, no, I'm bankrupting. It's like, dude, we've been telling you for, God, how long did we tell you? So, oh, God. Anyway, it just blows my mind, the entitlement that these people have. They think, they wish, they hope, they pray, but they can't make this stuff go away. The court finds it appropriate to assess defendant's attorney fees against plaintiff Michelle Preston, her then attorney Scott Stark, in equal shares for filing a frivolous complaint. Again, frivolous, that they knew or should have known, has no legal or factual basis on which to proceed. Now, the conclusions under law. Defendants are entitled to reasonable attorney fees pursuant to Florida statute 105, 1A, 1 and 1B, to be assessed against, again, Michelle Preston and Scott Stark in equal shares. Once the plaintiff's stay in bankruptcy is lifted, once it's lifted, now remember that right here too, that's going to be important. Defendant shall schedule a hearing before this court to establish the amount of reasonable attorney fees to which the defendants are entitled pursuant to 57.105 Florida statute. The court reserves jurisdiction over this matter to establish the amount of defendant's attorney fees and enforcement thereof. This came up on the 19th of December. Okay. Now, again, we're going to run into our wonderful item, which again hit the docket last night. And there were Max Lab definitely made sure it hit here. So thank you for that. Appreciate that, man. You know, that was I thought about doing this last night, but I was like, you know, we were talking about, here's something. Here's a random aside while we're going into this too. You know, we've got a crazy person that is involved in this stuff. And I mean that legitimately crazy person. Do you ever see so much crazy that you think, my God, they're boring me? You know, I've never thought that someone that is just off their tilt, I would need a break from them because they're so boring. And they've got to hit like ecosystem people like that too. Surely, when a person puts out 100 video, you're like, man, I ain't watching. In 3 days, and you're like, I ain't watching any more of that. This is terrible. Or they make the dumbest thing, you know, they make the dumbest conclusions in the world with one of their lowest fucking ranking law, their knowledge of laws out there. It's just like, man, I don't know. Maybe they'll entertain me again in a day or so. But for right now, I was just like, man, I don't even want to look. Like these, they're just boring. I have so much stuff. I went through a bunch of it for court stuff the other day. And there were thousands upon thousands upon thousands of screenshots already. There were hundreds and hundreds of videos. There is so much stuff. There's all this stuff with changing stories. There's the stuff locking in this insane tale with Hale. I mean, it's like, man, they have given him gifts, but my God. So anyway, I know that was a brief aside there, but still, I'm just wondering if anyone else feels like that. If they're like, man, these crazy people sometimes, or specific crazy persons, they're just not interesting. I mean, they're boring. And I know they're desperate for money, like I said. So they become more and more like unhinged. And it's wild to me that people in their own households are like, yeah, I encourage this. It's like, wow, dude. But anyway, here we go. That was way off topic there. But still, this was written. You see, the debtor comes in. This is going to be Lynette, Michelle, Lacey, Alexis, Preston, LMNOP, writing saying, well, the debtor's emergency motion to enforce the automatic stay and for damages pursuant to 11 USC 362K. Imagine coming in and trying to collect damages from somebody because you brought a lawsuit. You didn't follow directions. You kicked the can down the road, down the road, down the road. Then you go into court without an attorney. You think that's going to be a smart move. You end up getting in trouble because you don't follow direction with them. The court, you know why the court had that hearing, in my opinion? Because of two factors. I think they had it because these people were interfering in that case repeatedly. And the other cases, and they were defying every order that the court put down. They wouldn't show up, they wouldn't do anything. So after a while, the court's like, "Yo, you know, you're not." Like that's what the Fed court should have been doing. The Fed court should have said, "If you're not going to listen to us, if you're going to defy the court, not even show up when we order lawfully for you to get in here." And do something, of course, they're going to be like, all right, well, I guess it's a decision against you, fool, you know? God, so come now, debtor. That would be LMNOP, bind through undersigned counsel. That would be Jerome Saranwrap. Respectfully moves this honorable court for emergency relief to enforce the automatic stay pursuant to 11 USC 362A and declare void post-petition state court-ordered entry in violation of said stay. Actually, they talked about it. Like I said, they said that the state court 100% said, after this is done, we have looked into it. Again, they want money. They want money from Jeremy Hales, from any other people that are attached, and from it. They want to hit them because, again, they filed a frivolous lawsuit. The court looked into it, as they said, quote unquote, as well as in court's independent research into a matter, and they had a hearing with entitlement only, talking about sanctions, nothing else. So they're like, oh no, we need to avoid that. And on top of that, award damages, including reasonable attorney fees and costs pursuant to 11 USC 362K and the court's inherent authority. What morons. You really think the people you filed false shit against? You, by the way, Jerome, I know for a fact now, because there is somebody that your client talked to all the time, that you were one of the people telling her not to show up for shit. That's right. Him, not just Bruce, him. She herself said, yep, my lawyers, and named who they were, told me that I could file things. I should wait to file things until the last moment. I don't have to show up for things because X, Y, and Z. They're the ones who told her. Isn't that interesting? So, in support, therefore, let's look at this. Introduction. The emergency motion arises from a willful violation of the automatic stay by creditor Jeremy Hales. Again, they're trying to, we gotta get money from this guy right here. You know, it's funny because the court was asked, again, you can file something with the court and the court can say yay or nay. And the court did. They said, yay, we have the authority to decide on entitlement. Well, that's Jeremy Hale's fault that the court decided that. On December 19th, 2025, the Circuit Court of the 8th Judicial Circuit in Fort Levy County, Florida, entered an order granting defendants' motion for sanctions pursuant to 57105 SFN case number blah, blah, blah. That order was entered while the automatic stay was in full force and in effect in bankruptcy case, and it purports to adjudicate entitlement monetary sanctions against the debtor. Because the order was entered in violation of the automatic stay, it is void show and it should be declared a nullity. Oh, the desperation. Don't you love it when they're like, our actions, they shouldn't affect us. I love that. I kind of love it. Let's see, factual background for it. Why do they think that? On July 3rd, I love it because, again, it's begging, please don't let them do this. Please. The debtor filed a voluntary petition for relief under Chapter 7 of the Bankruptcy Code, thereby invoking the automatic stay provision of 11 U.S.C. 362A. On August 18th, 2025, the court entered an order dismissing case for failure to comply with notice of deadlines to cure deficiencies. Now, pursuant to 11 U.S.C. 362 C2B, the automatic stay terminated upon dismissal. Now, on October 21st, 2025, this court entered an order granting debtors' motion to reinstate case, which vacated the dismissal order and expressly provided that the automatic stay under 11 U.S.C. 362 became effective as of the date of entry of that order. Okay, interesting so far. Now, we all know that. People think ask a good question on here too. Let me note this as well, okay? Because I think this is a good question. You know, I'm not picking out one super chat over others. I think this is good as far as bankruptcy. She asked, speaking of entitlement, are we entitled to know what the court has taken as an asset from LMNOP? Well, I haven't seen it in a document yet. So once that hits, we'll know. But we haven't been told anything. And as far as I'm aware, creditors haven't had it announced to them that, yes, this is what that is. Now, again, what asset does she have? Honestly, out of anything else, I mean, we can do the process of elimination. Now, again, there could be something we're not thinking of, but what asset does she have? She said she has no money in the bank. She doesn't own the domicile that they're living in. What else do they own? I think with process of elimination, we could probably get down to it, Well, Jeep, I mean, they own some in it, I suppose. With the Jeep, they're still paying for it. They own a piece of it. How much? Who knows? They filled out the paperwork wrong. That's one of the things I told you that, like from go, because in the paperwork itself, this is another reason they cause themselves problems. Lynette Preston had said in the aftermath when she was talking to Tina, yes, she was filling out the paperwork on her own. Her lawyer wasn't doing anything for her. And like when you and I were looking through this, we noticed that Lynette, you could see her writing on certain things. I mean, you could tell it was her. That's what I asked before. And then, yeah, it was it was confirmed as Lynette threw her attorneys under the bus that they were doing nothing. So she filled out all that paperwork wrong because her very overpriced attorney, according to her, wasn't doing anything. Wild, huh? But anyway, let's continue. Isn't that? But I mean, when we do a process elimination, I think that answers our question better than anything. Because what else can she have besides, well, she has land and structure on said land. I mean, I don't think she has anything else. It's just crazy. It's crazy because they've decided here, they're like, you know what? I'm going to go after that judge's order and I'm going to try to bilk money out of this creditor after I got caught willfully filing garbage lawsuit. Isn't that amazing? I mean, the court also, the thing that they don't like too is the court has essentially said this money's not going to be dischargeable. That's the thing Michelle Preston is not processing in all of this either. When you look at a court and they say, hey, as far as entitlement, we can talk about this, but as far as the sanctions, we'll come back to that after you file bankruptcy. That means it's not dischargeable. That's a problem. She's going to lose quite a bit, it looks like, if we're reading the bankruptcy, right? And then on top of it, she's still going to get hit for the things that she thought she would be protected against because she used, oh my God, I mean, some terrible people. When you talk to the best lawyers in the game, as far as asset recovery and as far as bankruptcy, investigation into this and more, and they all tell you the same thing. Might mean that either every one of them is wrong and Jerome Saran Wrap is right, or maybe they didn't hire the best in the game. I guess we'll find out, right? But prior to the bankruptcy filing, the debtor was the plaintiff in a state court civil action styled Michelle Preston versus, all the people, pending in the Circuit Court of the 8th Judicial Circuit in and for Levy County, Florida. The debtor voluntarily dismissed her complaint in that action on the eve of a hearing on defendant's motion for summary judgment. On December the 8th, counsel for Jeremy Hales filed a memorandum of law regarding motion for sanctions against a debtor plaintiff during an automatic bankruptcy stay, arguing that the automatic stay did not apply to the sanctions proceeding because the debtor had initiated the underlying state court action as plaintiff. Actually, there's a lot more that said. The thing that they're talking about that we did not look at first, the argument that the court took in play, we're not going to read this right this second, but look, we're going to boil this down to one sentence. Are you kidding me? The argument here is pretty spelled out. It's not just that. There's a lot more arguments than they're including, I mean, when you look at it, though, they're telling you, as part of it, the bankruptcy, the way that it works out, yes, if you initiate litigation as a plaintiff, you cannot use automatic stay to shield yourself from the consequences of litigation itself. So the problem is, it isn't, it's based on the fact that she was a plaintiff. No, it's based on the fact that you idiots went out here and you bragged about using it as a shield. It's based on her own fucking consequences because, again, these people have sat around and bragged openly, very loudly, that they can't be held accountable for their own actions because bankruptcy stay. They wanted, when you sit around and you brag about the misuse of these systems, there are safeguards in effect. If you had gone in and you had done this and you truly wanted to discharge stuff and everything, great. But they held live streams. They bragged about this being their plan, until their donors got upset about it. But I remember them doing a live stream where they all said, this is such a good idea that we're going to see a lot of bankruptcies after this. They were all saying, we're all going to discharge this stuff. We're all going to do that. And then, of course, they they had an oopsie moment. It's just like, you have got to be kidding me. But anyway, so a copy of memorandum is attached, Exhibit A. All right. So on December 17th, 2025, the state court held a hearing on defendant's motion for sanctions pursuant to Section 57.105 Florida statute. The debtor did not appear at that hearing. Of course, the debtor doesn't appear, and you're the one telling her not to, by the way, Jerome. You and another person, right? You don't have to show up. You don't have to listen to court. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, if she wanted to argue, hey, none of this you're not entitled to it, what should she have done? She should have shown up for the own case that she herself brought against people. Oh my God, it blows my mind. She thought that she would get a huge payday, by the way. She said that plenty of times, but she also told the source. By the way, I want to say, Tina, these people, they have been harassing the holy bejesus out of Tina. If you have not heard about that, just since we did quote something for her, I'm going to read you a post real fast talking about that source that told you. So this was noted. I wanted to let you know that Tina has been under attack for coming forward and telling the truth. Just yesterday, she had over 67 phone calls from fake numbers. Some evil folks asking her how she unalived her son, saying she caused his I'm going to say end because of the here. She was threatened if she shows up in Ohio court, which she never said she was going to show up in Ohio court, but they threatened her if she did, then Now, said, I'm not accusing Queenie of making any calls, but she doesn't discourage it either. At least Hales says don't contact anyone. She doesn't even have that much decency. They think this will stop her, but all they're doing is pissing her off. So I said, please keep it up. She was having a soft-hearted moment. That's true. She was. You know, you could see it. She's conflicted because that little kid, she liked that little kid, you know, she cared about them, you know. And Michelle Preston is good at spinning your mind around and being like, oh, if it isn't Jeremy Hales, it's all the people around her. She blames Lisa for her predicament. She blames Bruce for her predicament, and so on, you know, and it's easy to get in there. But now she's a pissed off mama bear, you know, and there's more to it. But they have been calling to harass her from fake numbers. And just in one day, she had gotten 67 calls on that, you know, where they spoof numbers. They put them in. They put in fake ones. And, yeah, when they do that, again, they say some pretty vile things, you know, because they totally. And where would her number come from with that? Huh? I wonder indeed. Isn't that gross? But anyway, I just wanted to note that while I was thinking about it. You have somebody that steps forward and they end up in one day. I mean, that's gross. It's fucking gross, man. So the debtor, again, December 17th, it doesn't appear on December the 19th. While the automatic stay was in full effect in the bankruptcy case, the state court entered an order granting defendants' motion for sanctions pursuant to Section 57.105 FS. This order expressly acknowledged the existence of the automatic stay, resulting, yes, it did. It did indeed. It said that it had, according to their research, that they had specific rights to go through. Well, here, let's read that one part again. See, on the issue of sanctions, notwithstanding the stay in bankruptcy, as well as the court's independent research, the court proceeded with the sanctions hearing on the issue of entitlement only. Remember, that's what they say. Now, again, they make it sound like they proceeded with handing out sanctions and more. That's what that's what this plays at. It's going to be interesting to see this get shot down, because again, trying to do things, not obeying or abiding by court orders as the court tells you to show up. That's one way to go. Kept saying, hey, you better go to those, but no, he didn't. So, again, the order expressly acknowledged the existence of the debtor's bankruptcy filing. Despite this acknowledgement, the state court proceeded to make substantive findings of fact and conclusions of law, determined that the plaintiffs have clear entitlement to attorney fees pursuant to Florida State Section 57.105, 1A and B, found that such fees should be assessed against the debtor and her former attorney in equal shares, and reserved jurisdiction to determine the amount of the attorney fees once the stay is lifted. Very important portion on that. Again, nothing has been assessed yet. This was about entitlement. Again, are you entitled to any of this? Yes. And you know, it's nasty too, because they played this game where how long have they kicked this thing down the road? How long should they be allowed to? How long do you get to delay cases and delay them, you know, off of garbage? So the legal argument, the automatic stay applies to sanctions proceedings against the debtor. The automatic stay is one of the fundamental debtor protections provided by bankruptcy court. Upon the filing of the bankruptcy petition, 11 U.S.C. 362A1 operates as a stay of the commencement or continuation of judicial proceedings against the debtor that was or could have been commenced before the commencement of bankruptcy case, or to recover the claim against the debtor that arose before the commencement of the case. As recognized by the Florida 3rd District Court of Appeal, the automatic stay provision of the bankruptcy code is governed by 11 U.S.C. 362A, which stays judicial proceedings against a debtor upon the filing of a bankruptcy petition. The stay is triggered automatically when a bankruptcy petition is filed. Again, they think that this is a safeguard against anything. It doesn't matter how awful or how stupid your actions are. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And then if you do this, I just kick it down the road, you know? As the court further recognized, quoting Echo River Sanctuary, LLC, versus actions taken in violation of the stay are void even if there's no actual notice of the stay. I would be interesting because you notice you notice this guy, by the way, he doesn't quote anything in it. He cites, but he doesn't quote. That annoys me, you know, because what that does, and I'm sure that it will annoy anyone that has to look at that, because they have to become the finder of fact in that. You're not quoting any item from it. You're just saying, this says that. Okay, well, we'll see if they like that. We'll see if they like that approach. You know, the motion for, I mean, that's all this is. The motion for sanction is filed against the debtor in state court. Action consists in action against a debtor seeking to recover a claim for monetary relief. Now, again, the discussion about this, it's pretty clear. And when they're talking about bankruptcy code, they discuss how exactly this can move forward. You know, here's the difference. Say, let me show you what I mean by this. So when you look at this statement versus, let's look at what triggered a decision here. When you look at it, this is what I mean. You know, you have quotes from something like here. Let's look at this. This means quote. It's quoted, you know, not, hey, I'm just quoting a case, therefore. They are, let me take your word on that. And they do it for everything. It's amazing. You know, I'm sure they'll enjoy that. I'm sure they'll be like, yeah, this is a great thing. A sanction awarded under Florida State 57105 creates personal monetary liability. You know, first of all, a sanction, there was the entitlement for sanctions, but there hasn't been sanctions awarded to create a monetary liability against the party or attorney found to have filed a frivolous proceeding. Isn't that beautiful, by the way? Look, they admit it. They admit it's frivolous. I'm enjoying that, by the way. You like that? Saran Wrap himself admits that it was a frivolous filing. How many times do people have to say it before the ecosystem stops lying and saying that they didn't get in trouble for filing a frivolous lawsuit? Come on, man. The adjudication of entitlements to such sanctions, even without a fixed specific dollar amount, constitute a continuation of a judicial proceeding against the debtor that is prohibited by the automatic. So, according to what? Where does it say this? Where the fuck are you quoting, dude? You blah, 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 blah. You know? Oh, my God. The case cited by opposing counsel are distinguishable. Let's say, in his memorandum of law filed by the state court, counsel for Jeremy Hales argued the automatic stay does not apply because the debtor initiated the underlying state action as plaintiff. Counsel cited here for proposition the automatic stay provisions apply only to the actions brought against a debtor in bankruptcy. These cases do not support the position that the post-petition determination of entitlement to monetary sanctions against a debtor is exempt from an automatic stay. Wait, so look, they don't argue anything. This is the most jacked up stuff. They're just like, I mean, imagine me filing something that is the equivalent of being like, that's not right. I mean, they quote one thing. Oh my God. That blows my mind. No, it's not. Nay. Oh, what a great argument, right? What a great argument. The principle that the stay does not prevent a debtor from prosecuting her own claims is not equivalent to holding that a debtor who files a lawsuit forfeits all protections from an automatic stay He didn't forfeit all protection. Actually, you notice that. Again, this is a lie. The court never said that you forfeit all protections. In fact, if they thought that, they would have come down on you with a monetary sanction. That's not what they said. They said that they could continue with entitlement. So that's 100% false. That is a flagrant misreading of what was stated both by attorney and by the court. Flagrant, just a flagrant lie. From the automatic stay with respect to claims against her in that litigation. A motion for sanctions under Florida statute 57.105 is not merely a defensive measure or an ordinary incident of litigation. It is an independent claim seeking monetary recovery against the party alleged to have filed a frivolous pleading. When a creditor seeks to order an order establishing entitlement to monetary sanctions against a debtor, that creditor is pursuing an action against the debtor to recover a claim within the meaning of 11 years. Good God. So we're just going to mention, this is so sloppy. This is so freaking sloppy. There's no court site. Look, the citations, like what you do, if you feel that you have something that is wrong, you cite case law and you quote it and you tell them, look, right here, this proves that this. No, they're just like, hey, you know, this one thing over here. Yeah, this says I can do whatever. Trust me, guys. The case cited by opposing counsel involves situations where a debtor plaintiff sought to use the automatic stay to halt proceedings that the debtor herself had initiated. Those cases do not address the situation presented here, where a creditor seeks a post-petition adjudication that creates new monetary liability against the debtor. Even if the underlying state court action was brought by the debtor, the motion for sanction is a separate and distinct claim against the debtor that falls squarely within the scope of the automatic stay. My God, is this quoting the same? Isn't that the same one? Are we just going to bounce the same bullshit over and over again too? This is so sloppy, man. I wonder if I could write this with hey, wait, let me check something. Let me check something real quick. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT what it thinks. Again, this will be its opinion, not mine. They like to use ChatGPT so much, so let's see what it says about this. You know, yes, except for on case law only statements that say nope, can't. Without facts, does this sound like AI? Because it really sounds unresearched. What do you think? I'm asking it. Okay. Let me say, whoops, 1 second. I attached all 3 documents. And it got confused on which one. This one specifically, sorry. My bad. Oh no, listen to this. Got it. This is what AI says. Short answer first, then. Yes, this absolutely does read like a heavily templated, borderline AI-assisted filing, and it's weakly researched in the way you're noticing. Now, let me be precise and clear. Why it sounds like AI or / borderline boilerplate driven? Because again, I mean, it's so basic in its filing. it doesn't sound researched by an attorney. Why does it sound AI? Because this motion has several red flags that experienced bankruptcy litigators would immediately notice. Repetitive statutory recitation without analytical depth. Again, yes, this document, it repeatedly states 11 U.S.C. 362A. It repeats the fundamental debtor protection, willful violation, but it does not grapple with actual hard issues at the case. Whether a post-petition determination of entitlement to sanctions under 57.105, where no amount is fixed and no collection occurs, violates the stay when the debtor was the plaintiff. The omission is glaring. This is again what ChatGPT says. 2, the case law usage is thin and selective. You're right that it sounds unresearched. Here's why the impression is justified. What it does, it cites Lewis v. SFR, blah, 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 repeatedly. That's what I thought. I was like, man, it's citing that multiple times there. It quotes general propositions like actions in violation of stay or void. What it doesn't do is address federal bankruptcy cases on sanctions, fee, entitlement, collateral proceeds, distinguish ministerial versus adjudicative actions, address the debtor plaintiff exemption in any meaningful federal way, and it cites 11th Circuit bankruptcy authority on post-petition sanctions. It doesn't add anything. It's a huge hole. A serious research brief would have to engage that within the body of law. Because again, you're supposed to present an argument based in case law that says, hey, this is what's happening, and they don't. The most telling, number 3, the most telling AI-like trait, avoiding the hard counter-argument. Notice this pattern. A motion for sanctions is an independent claim seeking monetary recovery. That sentence is asserted repeatedly, but never actually proven with controlling authority. There's no engagement of whether entitlement doesn't equal enforcement, whether reserving jurisdiction avoids stay violation, whether sanctions tied to debtor-initiated litigation are treated differently. That's not how humans argue when they've dug into the law. This is how templates and AI outputs argument. Declare, repeat, move on. The tone, number 4, is absolutist in a place where courts are nuanced. Statements like, a state court does not have the authority to interpret the scope of an automatic stay are overstated and borderline incorrect in its phrasing. Courts routinely assess whether proceedings fall within a stay. They just can't modify it. A careful human drafter usually hedges here. This motion doesn't. It doesn't hedge. That's another AI or boilerplate tale. So is it definitively AI? No one can prove authorship. You can't say 100% that that's it, unless you dig down. If you drill down into the case law, then maybe, because we have done that. But professionally speaking, it reads like a canned bankruptcy sanctions motion, possibly AI assisted or minimally copied from prior filings with light edits. Somebody said, by the way, and this is really interesting from that. I had a comment. Now, again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with said comment, but I had someone comment about how this looked like a prior filing that had come in before. Like it looked like a copy paste with new wordings. It said, I see the bankruptcy attorney use the same phrases and verbiage in this filing as BBB did in the 2024 motion for other unrelated to bankruptcy case. See federal, again, I'm curious if somebody wants to compare these to really drill down into it. Look at Fed 1, February 14th, and compare this January 9th one and see how the language overlaps. But right here, it's so crazy because it says with this, if it succeeds, it won't because it's well argued. It will because the bankruptcy judge prefers an expansive stay interpretation and wants to rein in the state court. It's not because it made a good argument. So they're banking on, let's see. Let me ask something. I'm asking it its opinion while we'll continue forward while it decides that. So the post petition, we're going to continue on here. I was looking at it and like, man, this sounds, it's either, boilerplate pisses judges off, which we've seen before. But this kind of stuff, oh, what a mess. What a mess. I'm getting some pictures from the girls, by the way. They're skating. My updates read like this. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an adventurous night. All the kids are doing good. I got some pictures there. Then one of them ended up falling, which is like, I was afraid that would happen. 42 minutes in, and the little one, she's like, I'm done. This is too much. She actually, for some reason, she couldn't get it out of her head, by the way. I thought this was really funny. She kept telling me, she was like, Dad, I'm going ice skating. I'm like, you're not going ice skating, kiddo. You're going roller skating. Roller skating involves like little wheels, Ice skating involves blades, She's like, oh, yeah, Dad, I forgot. So for 3 days, though, it'd be that. Dad, I'm going ice skating. I'm like, you're not going ice skating. If you repeat it enough, it's not going to make it real. Okay, let's continue here. So, again, I noticed that they keep repeating these same actions. Because the state court's order granting defendant's motion for sanction was entered in violation of automatic stage, it is void. Again, same repetition here, too. You notice they've already repeated. As it recognizes, same. Again, actions taken in violation of the stay are void even if there is no actual notice of the stay. So, again, repeat. The state court acknowledged the existence of automatic stay resulting in the debtor's bankruptcy filing, but proceeded to enter its order nonetheless. That's actually very incorrect in the way that it's stated. That is not what happened in there, That's 100% not. I mean, you've got to actually, what their problem here is you have to actually present something that says what happened violated the stay. Ultimately, you can't just be like, yeah, because this, take my word for it, bro. That doesn't prove that you violated the stay. You 100% have to prove it. You have to present merit. Oh, God. Oh, so sloppy, man. I'm not surprised by this, but I would be pissed. If somebody handed this in for me, I will be pissed. I would be. I'd be so pissed. The state court's acknowledgement of the stay, combined with its decision to proceed despite the stay, demonstrates that the violation was willful. So, look, again, heavy misinterpretation of what the state court did. The state court went in. It said that there was a stay. Therefore, it had limited discretion. That is not what they did. They weren't like, hey, there's a stay, but fuck it. That's what they try to make it sound like. This is 100% disingenuous bullshit. Excuse my language, sorry. Just... A state court does not have the authority to interpret the scope of the automatic stay. They absolutely have the authority to look at something and decide what the scope is. Courts do this all the time. So you're like, courts can't just look at, no, it's absolute. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Then I can file bankruptcy. What idiots, man. Or determine that the stay does not apply to particular proceedings. It's not about, oh my God. This is, I have no idea. In bankruptcy, I'm not sure how responses work, but my God, I really want to see a response shred this bullshit. I want to see somebody chew it up and spit it out. Because this is such garbage. Such determinations are within exclusive jurisdiction of the bank. Only the bankruptcy court gets to say stuff, y'all. Only the bank. Oh, God. By proceeding to adjudicate entitlements and sanction while acknowledging the existence of the automatic stay, the state court exceeded its authority. There is Oh my God, there's nothing here that says this. They added nothing. They were just like the court. They exceeded their authority because, well, here's some cases. Let me ask AI something. This, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't give a shit. I can use AI to play with. Do these cases actually argue what they're saying, or are these boilerplate additions as well that should be dug into? Curious. Here's about those cases. I'm asking it. It takes it a minute, has to think about it. Again, do not use AI as a lawyer, by the way. It's just sometimes when you're looking at cases, if you're curious about them, it can pull up any of the freebies that you want. No AI is shocking. Again, it's AI or boilerplate. I'm not saying definitively. You can't definitively say that something is AI unless if it, hallucinations. If the cases that are mentioned in here, if these things they turn out to be false, or there's something terribly wrong with it, you can be like, man, either this person is the biggest idiot ever, or so Lewis v. SRF, according to this, is very boilerplate, because what it is it's eviction appeal, where a landlord confessed error because the eviction order was entered while an automatic stay was in effect. That's not how does that compare? Again, I would dig into this and see, it's not deep analysis at all. It's just a confession of error disposition. Let's see. Echo River Sanctuary versus drills down a little bit more. It's about a creditor trying to perfect a lien against a debtor filing bankruptcy. The opinion states that the rule that filing bankruptcy triggers an automatic stay and actions taken in violation of the stay are void, even if there's no actual. Again, that has nothing to do with the argument. It's very paper thin, it sounds like. Somebody, again, there are people out there that are very skilled with bankruptcy. I'm curious. Like, for me as a layperson, I'm like, man, this is thin and this is bad. I'm sure there's some other people that will drill down even further. I'm very curious about your response. If you are one of those folks, hit me up, because I really do want to know about that. I really do, because that's a mess. That seems just not good. Let's see. Yeah, that is thin. Look at that. That's terrible. So the debtor is entitled to damages. Section 362K1 of the Bankruptcy Code provides that, quote, an individual injured by the willful violation of a stay provided by this section shall recover actual damages, including costs and attorney. Well, she didn't have attorney. Are you talking about yourself? The guy who got paid the lump sum? He's like, give me some more money, please. Give me money. We willfully filed a fraudulent lawsuit, but we're entitled to money. Can you, the audacity of that statement it blows my mind. You think about that. Isn't that crazy? And in appropriate circumstances may recover punitive damages. A violation of the automatic stay is willful if the creditor, one, knew of the automatic stay, and two, intentionally committed violative act, regardless of whether the violator specifically intended to violate the stay. Here, wow, look, they can actually quote something. Oh my God. Look, there's a quote. This is the first time we actually quote anything. Holy crap. Let me ask AI. about that, because that's weird too. You know, why is this the only thing quoted? What is this about? The only thing quoted. That seems deceptive. Huh. That's funny. It's very standard citation. What it doesn't quote from that's interesting. The motion quotes only for a two-part test, but omits the limiting context and that follows and surround it. What it also makes clear, paraphrasing, this is again AI, is there must first be an actual violation of the stay. Good faith disputes about the scope of the stay matters. So if there's a good faith dispute over where that is, that has to be taken into effect as well. Actions taken under reasonable belief that the stay does not apply can defeat willfulness, and 362K is not strict liability. So in other words, willfulness assumes the act was actually prohibited. The motion skips that entirely. So it omits a huge portion of that decision. That's interesting. Like I said, you know, that's a good way when you trip yourself up. If somebody with the chops, like one of the things I learned about Saran Wrap in his little issue that he had, you know, when he got in trouble with the courts, which is on YouTube, by the way, if you're ever curious about that, is he did no research whatsoever. Courts tore him apart for that issue. They look at something, they were like, you didn't even like put in even the most basic fundamental items in this when you filed that, did you? And he was like, it was pretty bad. If you've never seen that, you need to go back and watch it because it's amazing. But here, counsel for creditor Jeremy Hales files a memorandum of law in the state court, December 8th, 2025, that expressly acknowledges the existence of the automatic stay and argued that it should not apply to the sanctions proceeding. It should not apply to looking at whether or not that would be allowed. Oh my God. The state court likewise acknowledges, despite this, Hales and his counsel continue to pursue the motion for sanctions and obtain a post-petition order adjudicating entitlement to the sanctions against the debtor. The debtor has been injured by this willful violation of the automatic stay. The debtor has been forced to retain counsel to file this. Wait, obtain counsel? To retain counsel? This is Jerome, right? That's you, right, Jerome? This Jerome. What the fuck are you talking about, Jerome? You're already their counsel. She was forced to get counsel. It's like, dude, you are her counsel. She paid you $6,000, dude. You aren't even, according to her, filing the paperwork. One of the reasons that she's having problems meeting deadlines is because you do nothing. That's according to her. Like, it blows my mind when you hear that. I could believe it because I'm like, why aren't they hitting any deadlines? Well, again, according to her, it's because this guy doesn't do it. She does. She even said that she was told she had to mail in certain things. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, my God. Forced to retain counsel to file this emergency motion to seek enforcement of the automatic stay in this court pursuant to 11 U.S.C. 362K1. The debtor is entitled to recover her reasonable attorney fees and costs incurred as a result of the stay violation from Hales and or his counsel who pursued this sanction motion with the full knowledge of the automatic stay. Again, it's funny that they quote case law that talks about willfulness having to come into play. That's weird. Kind of leaving all that out. Wherefore, the debtor respectfully requests that the court enter an order granting the following. So let's see what they want. A determination that the automatic stay under 11 U.S.C. 362A applies to the motion for sanctions. An order enforcing the automatic stay and enjoining Jeremy Hales and its counsel from taking further action to prosecute for motion of sanctions or any proceedings regarding attorney fees against the debtor in state court action, absent relief. What the fuck, man? They've already got a decision. Well, we need them to be told that they can't do anything anymore. It's like, wait a minute, they already have. Why would they need that? Are you afraid that you're going to have the thumbnail case come into question? Is that what you all are afraid of? Are you hoping that you can do something before something terrible happens there too? A declaration that the order granting defendant's motion for sanctions pursuant to entered the circuit court, 8th Judicial Circuit in and for Levy County, Florida, December 19, 2025 is voided, and an order prohibiting any further sanctions or attorney fee proceedings against the debtor in state court absent relief from the attorney. Again, it notes they're coming afterwards. Good Lord. An award of the debtors. It's like what amazes me, it's like he didn't read the filings. And I do wonder whether or not he did read the filings. Like, you may be there and be like, man, surely he read those, right, Doug? I don't know. I mean, these people aren't exactly the brain trust I would do that with. Hey, Cynic, yeah, that'd be awesome. Actually, that would be cool, man. Yeah, send that over if you want to, brother. Yeah, the little one has been talking about Valentine's cards and stuff. They do like a handout for homeschool kids, but I think that would be cute. If she got some Valentine's Day one, she would really like that. I remember being a little bitty kid and all that. She was like, Dad. I was like, what? When she says that, she's like, Dad, because she has certain words come out with like a heavy Southern drawl. She's like, Dad. I was wondering about Valentine's. I was like, yeah, what about Valentine's? She's like, well, will you be a Valentine? Can I get you a present and you get me one? I was like, sure. Sure, we can do that. And she was like, because you're the best. I was like, all right, that's pretty nice. So let's see. Expedited consideration of this motion due to ongoing violations of the automatic stay. They get challenged once. What's amazing is, again, they don't show up for anything. They shirk the authority of the state court. They did this with or without the stay, by the way. Even when the stay was, it was gone. They still didn't show up for stuff. And they're getting pissy because it stepped up. The debtor respectfully requests expedited consideration of this emergency motion. The state court has entered an order adjudicating entitlement to sanctions against the debtor in violation of automatic stay. The order reserves jurisdiction to determine the amount once the stay is lifted, indicating the creditor intends to pursue collection of the sanctions award. The ongoing violation. Oh, yeah, of course they do. Because you can't willfully go out and do things to people. It costs them amounts of money and being like, I fold my hand. I'm filing bankruptcy. You can't do that. You can't willfully try to destroy somebody's name. Willfully put up signs calling them a PDF file. You have a freaking, God, this kills me. You have a protective order against this person. And they still do all this stuff to you. They are not the victim. As much as they love that spin, they are not the victim. I can't say finally, Jerome, it looks like finally maybe you filed something. It looks awful, but at least you filed something. The ongoing violation of the automatic stay and potential for further proceeds in the state court constitute irreparable harm to the debtor that warrants expedited relief. So they have their certificate. Let me make sure everything is there, because I want to show you one other thing that I think is really interesting here. Because they have a mailing list, right? They have an automatic mailing list. Now, the automatic mailing list includes not only attorneys, but it includes creditors. And I noticed the name was missing from that stack that we heard from the other day. So let's check this out. So you have, again, the mailing list here, right? You, of course, have Saran Wrap. You have the people attached to the court. You have Randy. You have the trustee. And then you have your manual list. Here's our manual list. You have Brett Granger. Okay. You have Chase Bank. All right. Continental Finance. Cricket. Okay. You have Deanna West. All right. You have Elephant Shoe LLC. Okay. You have Larry Foreman. Growth Financial Federal Credit Union. Man, I can't say that. It came out as like, you have Jeremy Hales added not once, but twice, because apparently oh my God. They're like, Jeremy Hales, I hate you so much. I'm mailing this to you twice. We're going to charge you. They're going to try to charge him fees for mailing twice. Oh my God. Lordy. You have John Cook. George. At first when I saw this, I thought maybe they accidentally added Jeremy twice with Martha as maybe with George here. Maybe they meant to go out and like I said, do that. But no, Jeremy Hale's just there twice. Okay. Medallion Bank. Now, again, look at who was missing. That's the whole point in this. Medallion Bank. All right. One Main Financial. PayPal Credit. Randy Shockett. Rex West. Sally Beauty. Shane Willis. I found a monster issue in this too. I actually have found, and I'm not going to correct it at all. Lynette, I found a monster issue in your bankruptcy proceedings. And once it's finalized, then I'm going to tell you about it because I think it's interesting, but not until afterwards. Because, I love how, again, they say all of us, we have no idea what we're talking about. In fact, we're all felons because we talk about this stuff, apparently. But at the same time, the practicing lawyers, they leave out, again, there is a glaring issue in this. And I hope, number one, that troubles them, because it is. I promise you, there's a glaring issue in this. It's a monster one, and they've not figured it out. And it amazes me that they haven't figured this out. Like it's some bankruptcy 101 shit. And Lynette, you'll be mad when you find out about it. Once all this is finalized, like I said, I'll be like, yeah, about that. So mark that. Remember, if I forget to bring it up, then ask me afterwards. Be like, what was that issue? Because I'm not correcting it right now. They have all these. I'm not working for free for them, So they have Synchrony Bank. They have DJ Radis. They have T-Mobile. Grace Granger. Verizon. Now, have you seen, there's something missing from all of this stuff, right? They haven't made any effort whatsoever to reconcile. What do you think that is? What do you notice that is missing from all of this? I'm just curious. Yeah, there's no police. Exactly, Gwen. What's going on? I thought they were going to go out. They were going to do something about that. They were going to add the fats, because the fats, they got to set in. Again, I think what that shows is it shows a want to harass one of the creditors. See, again, Jeremy Hales, here's the kicker with all this stuff. You got to remember, Jeremy Hales didn't add himself to this. They added him to it. They added him to litigation. They decided, garbage litigation at that. They told him and other people that because you made thumbnails, which is, again, is the worst argument. We will not argue that again, but it's a terrible argument because you 100% have the right to do that. What you don't have the right to do, as the Fats will find out, is make fun of males' sensitive parts, let's say. Because, yeah, that kind of thing right there, again, you wouldn't even think to do that if we were talking about a female. You'd be like, that's 100% messed up and gross and wrong. But they've spent over 10 hours doing that. It's funny. They put up a post talking about, well, Jeremy said this in messages to Leslie. Oh, man, I'm going to absolutely destroy him in court. Really? Well, are we going to talk about what you've been saying? Are we just we're going to skip over that? Because, again, like was noted yesterday, too, you can't just say somebody told me this, repeat it, and it not cause you problems. They're especially when you've gone on live stream and said that you're colluding with someone. Oh, I was colluding with them the entire time. I still can't get over, by the way, that she brought her lawyer on to that stupid stream. I cannot. I get that's her husband, but at the same time, and that's her lawyer too. Her lawyer got involved, saying that essentially the messages and stuff that they sent Hales, they were bait. That includes messages supposedly between the two of them fighting and more. You think about the emotional manipulation in something like that. You know, where you're like, oh man, is this person going to do something terrible to this other person? What should I do in this situation? You know, you think about that. Like I could not believe that when I saw that the other day. All right. Anyway, I thought one other thing with this, though, again, they are grossly misinterpreting the filing that Randy put in. It is, it's actually, again, if they would have argued it, see, this is the problem that they have with their filing, by the way. Look at this here. So with their filing, Randy files this again. You see where he's discussing automatic stay. It's an argument. It's a legal argument on whether or not it applies, right? And you, of course, have quotations through there and more, which they try to bring up themselves and say they don't apply. This doesn't apply, but they don't mention why. It's just like the one thing that bothers me in saying that that's done by AI is that AI would at least tell me why that does or doesn't apply. You know, it just looks like, again, it looks like a boilerplate, which they've already had problems with. But the whole, like, you can see the quotations. Again, this is what the argument here. And Lynette Preston, for her part, has never argued anything with the courts except to put in statements about, I can't be there because, well, 12 hours before this comes up, John Cook rather has an appointment for this, or, you know, whatever. But you can see, again, making a legal argument. You have quotations, whether you agree with it or not. This is how you're supposed to argue stuff. You're not supposed to be like, yeah, that's wrong. Why court? Well, because I say. Because bankruptcy law. I mean, you know, so you go through, you see how this is set up, and it's saying that when a debtor initiates litigation as a plaintiff, she cannot use an automatic stay as both a sword and a shield. You can't come in and attack a person with a case and try to wreck them with it. And then when something goes bad for you, you fall back and be like, oh, I'm protected. You can't do anything about that. That's not what it's designed for. It's not designed for you to weaponize. These things are designed to protect you, not to weaponize against other folks. And you get caught. Again, their problem fundamentally is that they bragged about it. And they bragged a lot about it. It's provable too. The craziest thing is you could pull up live streams where they bragged about doing this. They bragged about gathering the money so they could slow proceedings where it would drag things out. It would cost Hales quite a bit of money. And on top of it, it would keep any kind of consequence for coming in. And we've told Lynette a million times, though, Lynette, one of the problems that you have here is these people are telling you you get to white off things you willfully do. When you willfully do things, you don't get to cost people buku money, especially, again, they have a protective order against you. He's followed a set of steps that it's going to cause them problems. But the argument with that, it's pursuing its claims against others while simultaneously claiming immunity from normal consequences of litigation. The automatic stay is designed to protect debtors from collection actions, not to provide them with an unfair advantage in litigation. They voluntarily initiate. Yes, you're not supposed to be able to come after somebody and then say, nope, can't do that. Again, that was the argument, but it's the whether you like the argument or not. You don't have to. But it needs to be thought out. It just doesn't need to be, again, nah. That's my argument. All right. For tonight, I think that's enough. I am going to, God, what you should do, though, if any of you are bored out there, what you should do is put some of this in, put it into AI, ask it about it. Ask it, hey, what do you think about this? Just because a lot of times you catch people using AI. It's amazing. AI recognizes itself. And it absolutely stinks of freaking AI use. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's amazing to look at with that. Let me set up my redirect, and then after that, we'll read real quick. I think it's amazing because what they did from Go, especially bragging about it. If you're gonna brag about misusing the court, you probably should think about it. And it's funny because you can tell Michelle, rolling up to the Ohio proceedings, has been told to shut up. You can see it. Unfortunately for her, all these other crazy weirdos that have been brought in, they already, you can prove all these other people they were involved. My God. Imagine if she had taken that standard at the very beginning of this. But then again, you've seen all those messages between people where they're talking about how they're going to make fortunes off of Hales. They're going to do this and do that. They thought he was a payday, man. And he was like, nope, I would rather spend every dime before giving you any of it. I kind of like that, by the way. So here we go. Green Veggies thinks about, I want more jail. Question is, there's grounds for insertion to a chipper or shredder. Is it proven? First of all, here's one of the, is it proved? Because this is I guess the way I would go with this. People make terrible accusations, terrible ones. And the reason that you have to be careful about accusations, well, look at what we're looking at right now. Accusation is not substantiation. So that is the only, I guess, caveat to that, because actions against children are the most heinous things you can do. Vulnerable populations, an advanced or truly progressive society, not the way we use the word progressive now, but as in moving forward, you can tell them a truly progressive society by the way that they take care of their most vulnerable citizens. And their most vulnerable would be children, and they would be the elderly, mentally ill and on. So how do you do that? Well, I think you do that with a very heavy hand sometimes, for people that break that. So I think if it's provable, our courts do very little against people that do it. So I think that's the best answer there, because like it's a blanket. I mean, I could easily be like, yes, but again, I'm always afraid. We cover so many false allegations against people that I worry about false allegations for people, these days, especially. Liz, what's up? 42 months. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. Much love to you, Tug. I want to look away from all of this, but cannot. I know, man. It's so crazy. It's so crazy with all the crazies Jeremy and George have to deal with. Indeed. That's one of the problems. See, like I was saying with certain weirdos out there, they're almost boring in their effect. But what they're doing, like you're like, oh my God, like how many more videos are they going to put out? Oh, geez. But you look at what they're doing. They're trying to. Lips has admitted that she tries to manipulate SEO or search engine optimization to ruin a person. So she puts out hundreds and hundreds of videos about a person being this terrible thing. And the damage doesn't happen today. It happens a year from now. The real damage, because the people who know what happened right today, you see it. But in a year from now, who's still left standing with it? What random person runs across it? That's the nastiness, the vitriol that these people are. That's why they have to be sued into oblivion, because otherwise they destroy people reputation-wise. They destroy. This is how they destroy business. And you're talking about some of the shittiest, worthless people you have ever seen in life. But I mean, look at what they do. They have nothing else in their days. They say that they're going to dedicate all their time to doing this. They were doing it before. They're doing it now. But yeah, you want to look away from them. And yet, I hear you. I do. Because some of them, I get so bored with some of them. Now, the Fats are kind of funny sometimes. The Fats have been dancing way too close to, again, channel banning. Because some of the stuff, I'm telling you, it's bad when it's bad. I'm not going to go further than that. I'll just say it's bad. Like I said, I don't want the Fats getting banned. They are a great source for lawsuit items. They're a great source for really screwing up and telling you how things are. And I kind of want to see them pay for the money that they actually squeezed out of all these folks. I want to see how that goes. So, but the last few live streams have been so nasty and so not just reputationally damaged, but God, they've entered another level of lawsuits and nasty stuff. So I hear you, Liz, for real. Appreciate you, dude. Max, what's up? Thank you for the super chat there. Also, thank you for your help sending stuff over. People, if you want to see documents, by the way, he does put them up on his YouTube channel. He sets them up there without commentary, so you can check them out that way. I think that's a good way to check them out too. That way, you should always, whether you agree or disagree with someone, look, you always ask for proof. If people are not willing to provide you proof, there are a few things in life that would be difficult to prove, but many things aren't difficult to prove. And again, they say that you don't have to prove anything. This is an anti thing that really gets me too. They say that you don't have to prove anything outside of a court. Well, yeah, they want to have a court of social media. They want to try and convict someone. They want to have the conviction, a decided fact, but also pretend that you're not putting this person's reputation on trial and trying to destroy them. It's crazy stuff, man. But thank you, Max. Thank you for the documentation there. I appreciate it. And like I said, people check those out for sure. Check out all documents and make your own conclusions on something. And maybe, when you look at this stuff too, one of the things I like is that people out there will find things that I never think of, and some of you are very, very smart, very astute people, and appreciate it. Lori dropped that super sticker. Woohoo! Super sticker. I love that. Thank you, by the way. Those are awesome. I love it. Emma, thanks for the 2. Pay my thugs, lurker tax. Love this song. Thank you. I thought that song came out pretty good. I liked it. You know, I like the last couple of songs. I think they've done pretty well. You know, I've been playing around. I want a faster way to make a video on it. One that I like. That's, you know, I see these idiots that use their AI. It's just gross AI, but I want to have fun with it. But at the same time, man, like these people, they're so easy to mock with that stuff too. You know, I want to make some more songs about money missing. I think that would be fun. Liz dropped 5 gifted memberships too. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. That is a great gift. Again, perfect way to kick off 2026 by giving to others. Thank you too, and helping out. Thank you. Lori dropped a super sticker as well. Like I said, thank you for those. I go back, clip them. The kids get a good kick out of them. It supports the channel and they enjoy it, you know, because they're always like, hey, did we see anything cool? And I like to tell them that. So appreciate it. Hey, Zill, what's up? Drop that entertainment tax. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The entertainment tax. Appreciate it. Man, appreciate it too. I didn't think I was going to have a live stream today, because the weather changed and all that. I felt pretty awful today. So it's like, man, it ain't going to happen. But it did, and it went pretty well. So I'm glad. Jane, thanks for the 12 months there. Yeah, thank you. You know, good to be here. You guys are the best. Fully support you. Well, appreciate that, you know. Love to you. Thank you for being here. D spills the tea. Thanks for the fine, Dan. Thanks for all you do, Tug. Please check email. I will have to. I've been behind all day. Like I said, I have not felt good today at all. So, you know, when I'm thinking about, man, should I take a day off? I know I don't feel good because I do not like taking days off. Give me a second. I'm checking something out here. Yeah, I will. Oh, man. Is that what I think? I'll look at that and check out that for sure. And I want to clarify something. And then that seems interesting. D spills the tea is very interesting, by the way. D spills the tea has cooking up something interesting too. Very much. Emma, thank you for the gifted membership there. Thank you, Emma. It's great to see you there. I like the little box, by the way. That's funny. Sandy Nichols, what's up? Thanks for 42 months there too. Thank you, Sandy. It's always great to see you. Hey there. Hey there indeed. Appreciate you too. Thank you. Fallen Hero, gifted membership there too. Thank you, Fallen Hero. Thank you for that. And also, as I've said many times, thank you for being here. Always here. Appreciate that, man. Can't say that enough. Thank you. Rhonda, thank you for the gifted membership there. Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that. You know, like I said, the gifted memberships are great because they support the channel, but they also support others. And I love that. Thank you. Wanda, thanks for the 5 there. The first time I went skating was about 12 or 13. I wore white jeans. Let's just say my jeans weren't white by the time I left. Indeed. You eat that floor enough, man. You know, I remember skate. I've never been a good skater. I'm tall, so I have a lot of time to correct. You know, when you're taller, you can balance out because you've got more like lankiness before you fall. But when you fall, it really sucks. Like, I'd rather be much closer to the ground. I always hated skating, you know, because I end up eating the ground way too much. Not very fun. Thank you there. Hey, what's up, Android? Thanks for the 2. I hope the girls had fun roller skating in the 80s. Indeed. It's funny seeing, like, my daughter is so interested in, well, she mixes up time. Everything old is the 80s, you know, but because she understands some of the styles from the 80s, but she thinks like the, you know, the rave goths that popped up like in the 90s and then in the aughts, you know, but you saw them really heavily in the 90s. She thinks that's the 80s. Everything's the 80s, but it is interesting to see how much old style, it's getting embraced again. It's also funny to go back and to look at kids craving things that have been taken away. Everything from toy stores to social places like roller rinks. I mean, I was telling my daughter about how back in the day, you might have a video game unit at your home, but most people, if they want to play video games, they went to the arcade. You went and threw down. You played whatever was there. Pinball was always somewhere in the building, but you'd have some pretty awesome freaking games. Everything from, way back when, a little bit older than me for it. Things like Tron, though, all the way up into the 90s with the shooting games like Terminator. Man, I was just explaining to her how much of that, and they really want it. They miss all of that stuff that's been phased out. Now, I told her, back then, too, you could afford, it was expensive, but I saw an arcade at a mall we went to the other day, and one of the shooting games was $1.50 a play. I was like, my God. A quarter may have been expensive back in the day to a kid, but at the same time, you could find a quarter on the ground. You don't find $1.50 laying on the ground. I remember one time at a mall, I found like $5, and I was so freaking thrilled by that idea. It was way back in the day. $5 is a lot of money, so it kept me busy like for quite a bit of time. Nowadays, that would have got me 3 plays and some change. So it's pretty awful. It wouldn't. It got me a play and an icy. I mean, it's terrible. But yeah, thank you, Andre. Deb, what's Deb in Michigan? Thanks for the tip. Tug, I'd like a birthday song. Well, you know what I say about request, right? I say, what is that quote here? Absolutely. Happy birthday. Yeah, that's what.
From both of us to you. Happy birthday. May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
Man, happy birthday to you, by the way. I love it. I love being able to support birthday. If you have a birthday like that, I love the fact that I get to shout them out. I wish there was a way I could do birthday songs where people would notice them. It's funny. The other night I was talking about Cameo, and somebody was like, set it up on Cameo. I was like, yeah, but you got to charge money for that. It's not free. I do it by email, but I never finish, but I actually like doing birthday songs. I love it. I love that people allow me into their celebrations. I think that's a lot of fun, I think that's a privilege. So thank you too. I hope it went really well. Bart, thanks for the 5 there. Hello, Tug, Mods, and Chat. Hope you're all having a great day. I'm having a better day. I feel a little better. Like I said, I'm glad I got on here because rather than sit around and feel like crap, I got up and I do feel better after I did that. Now this, again, we saw this before, but I do want to note again. Tug, speaking of entitlement, are we entitled to know what the court has taken as an asset? We discussed that. Thank you, though. I do want to give you credit. That was a good discussion. William, thanks for the 5. I agree. Lips is a huge bore. She's 100% predictable. Yes, that's the thing. It might be because I've dealt with so many with her affliction. The pattern is familiar. Well, you could, after a little while, you can tell within reason, there will be one of 3 ways a person will go with something. Like when a person, if they're mailing someone explicit materials, what are they trying to do? Well, obviously they're trying to manipulate, right? Now, what are the reasons? Well, you can usually tell by their statements what their reasons are. They weren't, by the way, in my opinion, the reasons they're telling the public now, but you can tell when they finally get shunned, when they don't get their way, how are they going to react? And most people like that, they act like petulant children. They do the worst thing that they can do to somebody. The only difference is when a child does something, when they act like a brat, you know, they don't think about the consequences. These people absolutely know what the consequences are of this behavior. They know that when you take a flamethrower to someone's reputation, they know what they're trying to do with that. They just don't care. They don't care. They absolutely do not care. And they think there's no consequences because there never have been before. Nobody has ever held them accountable. What a world, right? What a world where people have done that. Because, you know, you can also tell when people act like this, what you learn is obviously this isn't their first rodeo. And you know that anyway, because they've accused other people, everyone from people around them. Again, went after a father, mom. You know, they've gone after the guy that was on the freaking panel the other night saying they were involved in it. She's gone after him. I mean, again, just it's on and on and on. Never has been any. I mean, again, there was to a point she was allowed to even she got to dictate the terms to a degree in losing her license, for example. You know, when she had to set it aside, whether in lieu of controversy, or in lieu of discipline, rather not a controversy, in lieu of discipline, instead of losing anything. She got to decide to retire. Now she's like, in 2028, I may become a lawyer again. So is that really paying? And I find that to be a terrible consequence too of like these awful lawyers, you know. And the judicial system is also so freaking slow. It moves at the pace of, God, I hate to insult a sloth or a snail. I mean, it moves slower than that. It's awful. But the bright side is they continue, you know, and again, I hate to point that there's a bright side to some of the most heinous allegations that you can field. But the bright side is they hand you winners in cases. They won't admit that. But my God. Tracy dropped 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Tracy. That is awesome, by the way, and much, much appreciated. Like I said, I appreciate that. I appreciate you too. Thank you, Tracy. Adair, what's up, my friend? Thank you for the 5 giftos there. Adair. I love it. I love seeing your little avatar pop up too. Like, I think it's so funny. In the world? Just 1 second. I got something very bizarre. What in the world? Man, I get some weird threat. Man, that's a weird threat. Maybe that will be one we'll laugh at another day. Lord, I swear, like some of these people, man, they are wildly nuts. A dare, man, though. Thank you, bro. I didn't mean, like I said, I didn't mean to cut into that. I just saw like a pop up, and I saw the title of email that I got. I was like, oh my God, what is that? It's so crazy. Travis, thank you for the 5 there. These people are pathetic. I would like to ask prayers for my dad. Yes, indeed. Because Monday he undergoes a knife at 73 for cancer removal. Indeed, Travis, man. I appreciate you, by the way, a lot. Very much. Like I said, you have such a good story, man, you know, and with your family too. I get those are stressful times, brother. So you have my prayers. Everyone else out there, you have their prayers too. And appreciate you, you know. You stay positive, brother, as well. And like I said, let us know how it goes too, all right? For sure. Aussie Wombat, thank you for the 15 and came with the super sticker too. Love that. Love the super sticker, baby. Thank you for that, Aussie Wombat. Appreciate you, my friend. SF dropped a 5 there. Should look up any of the case laws cited and see if any of them are actual. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay, so with that, I was curious about some of the case law. I wanted to know, again, you have to do more drilling down on your own. But I was curious what if I were to summarize some of those case laws, what they were about. And it's interesting because what they're trying to put in is the idea that there's a narrow notion of what is supported under moving forward against a bankruptcy. But the way they argue it, it's so terrible as an argument, it looks like boilerplate, Like it noted, for example, it said because Lewis/Echo River are not about the kind of collateral litigation issue. For example, when that's brought up, they're about classic proceeding against debtor / act to perfect lien / eviction order entered during stay situation. They didn't drill down into it. If someone is pushing the void, like you saw over and over again situation, the real work, they talked about the heavy lifting in this. So it said, as far as AI, it was like, hey, if you go and you look at this stuff, this isn't doing the heavy lifting there. But it is a real case. It's just the way that it's set up, it's terribly argued. And again, it willfully admits items. In fact, again, I'm going to quote ChatGPT because this is not my opinion, but I'm curious what somebody that is skilled at assessing these things, because where they put in Joe v. IRS, it talks about why it feels deceptive in there, because again, they leave out a huge portion of what's involved. You have to assume certain things. You have to assume the stay applies, assume the state's court action was prohibited, and then say they knew about the stay but acted anyway, therefore willingly. But unfortunately, they skip portions in there. They leave out items because what they're trying to say ultimately, I guess the best way to say this when I'm reading through how it's breaking down is they're trying to say knowledge plus action equals damages. And that's not what that case, it looks like it says at all. Again, I had to pull that up for me. I clicked into it, looking through some of it, looking through a couple of synopses on it while we're going through. I multitask okay. And yeah, that doesn't seem like the point. But again, somebody that's much more knowledgeable than me, I'm sure they'll pick that up. Andre, thanks for the 2. Can't wait to see the consequences of this bull. Indeed. Well, it's funny. They're so deceptive, period. They're like, Miss Preston had to go in to get a lawyer just for this. Wait a minute. Aren't you her bankruptcy lawyer? Isn't that your job? You don't understand. You know what I love about that too? He's admitting that he is not. You remember how they said that that they would have a lawyer that dealt with 4 cases, and that him popping up somehow did that? Well, his own statements in that filing, they suggest otherwise. They suggest that he's not part of anything else. He's just part of a bankruptcy filing. Isn't that interesting? So it looks like that flies in the face again. Why does that matter? Because they told donors a lot of BS. And of course, threw Bruce under the bus for it. They were like, it's all Bruce's fault. It's all Bruce's fault. Love it. Cinebads, thanks for the 250 there. It's 3:30 a.m. Going back to sleep. Replay. Indeed. Get sleep. If you need sleep, get sleep. You want to hang out. I love it that when you folks hang out, I love it, but I know every time period, we're always in a bad time zone for someone. So, I know people have stuff they have to do on the days. So, of course, replay crew is always appreciated too. So YouTube put in a huge update 2 days ago as well. And that thing will probably affect everybody that you watch. It's crazy. You should read through some of the stupid stuff they did. But I'm sure it will affect views. It affects people being able to find live streams. Oh my God. So if you enjoy live streams from anybody, I'm not just talking about myself or Hales or Megan, but anybody out there, you'll have to, or their content, you're going to have to be proactive in finding it because they have made it even harder to find now. It's just wild, man. But yes, Cynic in Chief, I thought this was great. So Tug, can I get a permission to send Bug a Valentine's Day card? My niece is too young to appreciate it, but she would. She very much would. Yeah, man. You know, you've been around forever, my friend. There's nothing wrong in that. You know, I appreciate you asking. You know, somebody sent, so the other day, by the way, somebody sent a K-pop Demon Hunter package with a golden book. It had a notebook. I can't remember everything that was in it because when she saw that, she was like, oh my gosh, and ran off with it. Also, she got the coolest thing. You know, those fake money, like the little gold looking dollar, like it's a fake $100 bill. She got one with Pennywise. And then on the back of it, it's like Pennywise and Friends. So it also had like, she calls them Trick or Treat, but you know, the little kid from Trick or Treat and all them. So she loved that too. She's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I appreciate that. It was funny. It's awesome to see her. Cats, thanks for the 2. Would Liv's lawyer now be considered a witness? Oh yeah, he's being sued. And now he's worked him way in. I don't know how you can't make the argument that he is indeed a witness to everything, because he said that they colluded on, again, misleading, going after. They wrote Hales. Like that's the distinction. They came to him. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we were all in on pipe. Do you realize how messed up that is? Do you realize how out of bounds? Admit it. And to say Lips did it is one thing, but to say that her lawyer did it too, and then was involved when she's sending explicit videos. Holy crap, man. Some of the language, just written language, it's mind-blowing. And to imagine that her husband, first of all, is involved is wow. But her lawyer is involved in doing this. My God. To say that they set that up from go. Like, again, their excuses, I personally do not believe that. But I would go by their own statements. They're in their way of trying to deflect. I think they have dug a very deep hole. Because again, they're out there, they're saying, oh yeah, we tried to go after this guy and get him to say this or get him to say that. Man, that is stupid. It was stupid of them to go on a live stream, especially with your lawyer. Oh my gosh. It blew my mind to go back and to check that stuff out. Double Karma, thanks for the 2. Check your email in a moment, Tug. I'll look at it right now. See what's there. Anything cool? Let me see what I've gotten. Let me check it out. I'm not surprised. So Leslie's threatening Shizzy again with doxing. You only get one bite of that apple, Leslie. You already did it. You get one bite. You know, you talk about scumbags, though. Again, I would not blame someone like a Shizzy for going after her as well in court. I wouldn't have, because ultimately she said that she got his info so she could quote unquote sue, but she didn't. She put it out there and maliciously gave it to people, including a shakedown artist that spent 4 years in prison. You think about how messed up that is. Like I told you, they wanted. That's why when they tried to throw like my name in, they thought they They thought they were onto something. She thought, aha, I found something. It was already there. But she tried. She wanted to dox. It's weird, too, because she says things like that. But then she talks about how anything about her should be shielded. So are you saying that you shouldn't have that, by the way? We should talk about everything, because there's a lot. There's a lot that was redacted. There's stuff on Baker's acting, all kinds of stuff. If we really start to drill down, you find out some crazy things. Oh, man, I forgot to write that down. I forgot to write down something important to go over. I guess I forgot it today. I guess I'll have to go over it another day. 1 second, I'm writing something down. I'm sorry, but I'll forget it. My memory's been so bad that I have to write down. I keep a lot of notes these days. But yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things that has been really helpful too is people have been keeping ongoing, despite it being tedious, and I very much appreciate that. People have been keeping a record of everything that Lips has been saying, the threats and more, and it's made quite the reading material. But thank you. I appreciate you noting that, by the way. Let's see. American woman through. I didn't miss you there, by the way, Pickle Tink. I hit the one before it and I got to go backwards. Thanks for the 10. I just don't get exactly what their sexual BS is getting them. This is like 3rd grade name calling. I just can't take another second of their nasty name calling. Grow the F up. Well, it's even worse than that. Like, again, what they're trying to do is they're attaching it to essay claims. So it's not just a talk about a man's, again, his intimate portions. It's attaching it to claims. And those are the kind of things they should really research lawsuits. You can tell that many of these idiots, they take advice from folks that they shouldn't. You would think after the the state cases, after they fell apart in such a spectacular trash fire, that the ecosystem would be like, well, maybe I'm wrong about how some of this stuff works. Because remember how ignorant they were in their assessment of how it went. They weren't saying, hey, this could happen or that could happen. They were saying absolutely, that Hales cannot go after sanctions. He cannot do this stuff. He can't do A, B, or C. And then it happened. Now, of course, we're supposed to forget about all that. But the ecosystem folks, they should remember, especially those that are already being sued. You would think they would understand that talking about a dude in that way, that's not jury friendly. You may think it may play to your audience, but it doesn't play to a jury. And do you think that falsely accusing people too? Do you think that plays? Do you think that because you're banking on the fact that there are people out there that have undergone heinous things and that they're just going to listen and they're going to believe, but that's not the way it'll work. What'll happen is, again, there's metadata for all types of stuff that went on the conversation. They also admit, again, when they're admitting that they were trying to play Jeremy Hales, what they're admitting is they were playing for what end? Oh, absolutely. To accuse him of something awful. It's not a far reach to say that. The conclusion is easily found. So yeah, it's a little more than name calling too. I mean, you're right, but it's worse than that. As far as the liability component. And again, they should look up laws, because the fats think that just because someone told you it, that somehow it's released them from all liability. Well, even if that were the only case, They've already talked about how they got together and plotted. They've already talked about their collusion, in their narrative to save face. Unfortunately for them, the narrative they're trying to use to save face with the public causes them more damage in a courtroom, which is what you knew they would do, by the way. See, all this stuff, the amazing thing about this approach is you knew that they would say things like this, and you knew, depending on how extreme they went, they would make some ghastly claim. You knew that would happen. So you shield yourself, and you shield yourself not from, again, the social part. They're so intent on damaging somebody that the other part, it's going to cause them big problems. What idiots, though. Pickled Tink, though, thanks for the 20 there. Tug, I'm 5'11", which is tall for female. Yes, very much so. I started roller skating with 5 or 6. By the time I was young teens, I was at the rink every time the doors were open. I was pretty good back then. I wouldn't even try now. I know that's my problem. I could balance. I could not skate, but I could balance. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tall enough that when I'd start to slip, I could regain my balance before I'd fall on my face, So just by height, now I'd be afraid that I'd fall and I'd break something pretty majorly, So I'm not even feeling that idea. The funny thing, my oldest, when she goes anywhere too, she always is. She's a very friendly kid. She loves to make friends, and she's just always making friends. So apparently she made a friend down there. She's funny though. One of the things that limits her in a place like this, though, is she likes scary stuff. She likes scary stories, and she likes monsters and insects, and she's been you can tell she's been raised by a man for sure. You can tell there's a heavy dad influence in that. And in these small towns, sometimes that limits you and your friends, unfortunately. But she's such a good kid. She's always out there, like, making friends, and I don't know. It's just funny to watch her. Let's see. But I like that. I like the skating stories there, because I would break myself. Travis, thanks for the tip. Do I do a book or a movie about my life, Tyler? Book, always. Book, and then movie. If somebody finds it interesting, on that level, then they'll come in and they'll want the rights for it. So you get paid there. So you get paid on the back end, and they take all the cost. That's the way you do it. I'll tell you a movie or a book that I am shocked has never been made into something. There's a story. Well, it's a guy's life. It's called Smuggler. There's a guy named Roger Reeves that wrote it. I really like the audiobook, because he does it himself, and he's just so matter of fact. And he talks about, he's spending, I guess, the rest of his life in an Australian prison. But he talks about the 80s and the Colombians and working with them and smuggling. And it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. It's so matter of fact. You can tell, you can tell the dude's not lying either. So I like it. I think people should check it. Somebody should option that too. I don't know. That has nothing to do with you, Travis. It just made me think of it. Amanda, thanks for the 15 months. Yeah, time has flown by so fast. It does. It does. And, one of the things that makes this case so crazy is every day there's some weird thing that pops up, whether it's the people involved doing something. They're going to do something crazy tonight. I'm pretty sure they will. They'll do something that digs them yet another nasty little hole, They'll talk about, oh, do you know what Jeremy said in message? That's going to be their plan now. He said he wants to destroy me. Oh my God. That's their go-to. And it's funny because, well, you said that you colluded with Leslie to give him responses as well. You can't do that. You absolutely can't do that kind of stuff. Oh, Lord. There's gonna be a shit show tomorrow, I bet you. Amanda also, for the time flown by, also dropping 5 giftos. Thank you for that. That's awesome. And again, I appreciate those. I appreciate the support. Myself, like I said, I've been self-employed for a hot minute. Also, now I 100% I own everything about my business. I did not in the past, so I do now. I own it, so it's all me. You can be on something and not own it, you know. So a long story on that, but now I do. Everything is me. So I love it. And thank you. Everybody, you know, when you're supporting that, you're allowing me to do this. You allow me more time with my kids, all of that wonderful stuff. So I appreciate it. SF, thanks for the 5. Nah, Tongue. They need to keep listening to disbarred lawyers. They're lawyers on the verge of discipline. It's working out great for them. I know. I think it's great for them. It's a very smart way of proceeding. They should listen to people, you know, 1-star attorneys. I mean, really, when you look at some of these people's feedback and more too, you're like, okay, that's an idea. If you want to do that, I guess you can. but wow. All right. Well, also Blake, hey, thank you for the 7 months. Thanks for being young. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being yourselves too and coming on and enjoying this. I mean, you know, again, you could do anything, tune into anything. I think these kind of things, they're important. Where we go through, we disprove the insanity that these people, you know, we talk about it. We look at it, see what kind of proof or lack thereof that is actually given to anyone. There's a lot of lack thereof. Again, these people have gone full listen and believe. Don't ask for proof. Don't do it. Just believe it. Just believe it. You know, nasty people. But yeah, and I also like laughing in a good shit show. You know, again, I hate it that it's happening to Hales. I'm sure that this stuff is, I'm sure it weighs on a person. I'm sure it does. You know, you gotta remember, dude is trying to run his business. Like my business is making fun of weirdos. I'm just gonna be clear. My business is making fun of idiots and weirdos, right? His business isn't doing that. You know, my business, I get accused of all kinds of terrible fucking things because people want to ruin me. Jeremy, until these type of weirdos right here, he's pretty much he's a creator, but he's a normie. You know, he's somebody that doesn't deal with this kind of chaos and stuff. And it's heavy. It's heavy, I'm sure, on him. I'm sure it's heavy on the people around him. I'm sure it's heavy on relationships. I'm sure it's heavy on, I'm talking about like everybody around him, not just like one or two. I'm sure everyone, I'm sure you feel it. I'm sure certain days. And with the extra cost that's added to it, he also, you know, for litigation, unfortunately, clearing your name costs a lot of money too. You know, it does. Getting justice. Look what it cost him to get some of these decisions. Like that one state decision. You think about how much money was involved just in that. You know, or what they're having to do in this bankruptcy thing because they're trying some underhanded bullshit to try to allow her to write off everything that she's done while protecting potential money that would come in later on. She's trying to do both. That's the crazy thing about bankruptcy. She wants a pass from any type of ramification, but she wants to be able to keep anything that would come in later. I mean, that just blows my mind too. What's up? Be red, man. It's good to see you, my friend. It's good. Like I said, I know some people from back when for a long time. Be rad. You know, it's good, like I said, to see you. I appreciate you. It's funny, it's always that's stuck with me. The be rad. It sticks with me for some reason. I like that. Pickle Tink, thanks for the 10 there. I can trip and fall on flat ground. Yeah, that's true. I won't even get a roller or ice skates in the last 10 years. I've 22 served. Wow, that sucks, man. Nowadays to do a seizure, that's awful. I can hear you though, because like with this weird vertigo crap, man. I'll be walking around some days and be like, yeah, la 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 la, I'm doing, oh Lord, what's going on? I've never experienced seizures. I feel for people who do. You know, I've had relatives that have gone through that and friends. That's a rough go, you know. It's a rough go here too, because just getting any kind of help with it is awful. Anything. So I feel for everyone. I do on that. But I'm going to redirect you folks today. It is Flashcast Day. Now I'm going to give you a warning, as always. They talk about politics. They talk about social items. If that will offend you, don't do it. You know. Remember, you're not offended, you take offense. So you put yourself in it and it offends you, then you bring it on yourself. But if you want to go argue about stuff and enjoy and laugh at stupid people and disagree, you know, one of the beautiful things about all those folks, you can disagree with them and they're good people. Ultimately, you can disagree and they still would have your back if something terrible were to happen. That's what I like about it. I like the internet how it used to be, you know, in years, especially recently, it's become more of an echo chamber, more and more every year. People have to agree with me 100% or else. And nobody agrees with you 100%. Sooner or later, you'll dislike somebody. But I like it. I also like to argue sometimes. So I'll probably, again, I want to get back to doing flashcasts and stuff. It's just so late for me. So you know, it's hard for me to go over there and panel until 2 a.m. You know, I've got kids, so it makes it difficult to be on the panel like that. But I love those guys. They're good people. So let me make sure I didn't miss anything else. I didn't see anything. And then after that, I will send you folks over. All right. I'm going to send you over. We should be on tomorrow. I'm planning it. Remember, I go at either 3 my time or 4. So it's about either 3 to 4 hours early. Just depending. So we'll see. But I'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you. See you.